Roger, 0J, and I feel fine.
Discovery Houston, press to ATO.
Liftoff of mission 41D, the first flight in the orbit of Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0.
Discovery, go and throttle up. Discovery's 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube and Twitch channels. Sorry for the big gap of dead air there. My earbuds decided they weren't going to connect. And I was struggling with that, so I'm sorry for that. Technical difficulty. We are here today on this Wednesday morning with the sun shining. Well, at least where I am, the sun is shining. So, I hope everyone is having a really good day. It was a nice morning when I was taking the kids to school. The sun was all shining and everything. It was great. Now, for fair warning, I swear to God, I can talk. There is what the hell was I trying to say here? My brain just blanked as I was trying to pull something up for the show. My brain literally just my brain just completely blanked. Anyway, here I am, not knowing what I'm talking about. I've got an article up here for us to talk about. I've got a lot of Canadian stuff to talk about, and there's more fresh and fit nonsense. And when I say fresh and fit, I mean daisy fit. But it's not just I am muted and all the lights are off. Why am I still muted? There we go. So yes, okay, that's what I was saying. Now my brain is back. Fair warning, my allergies are kicking up, so I do apologize. I will try my best not to be sniffly or throat cleary, but I do want to give that fair warning that my allergies are rearing their ugly head. So I am just giving out that warning. And what else was there that I wanted to talk about? I actually had a list of things and my brain just totally fried itself. I hate when that happens. Well, at the risk of making this cold open any worse, oh God. Let's read our article. Let's start with our article, because we always do that. We always start with articles. So let's take a look at this CP24 article. I'm not paying it. Family furious over $400 per day hospital fine for not moving to LTC. I don't know what LTC is. Maybe it will say in the article. A few weeks ago, Michelle Campo faced what seemed like an impossible decision. Long-term care. So a few weeks ago, Michelle Campo faced what seemed like an impossible decision. Move her mom from a hospital bed to a long-term care home. Move her mom from a hospital bed to a long-term care home the family hated, or pay $400 a day to remain at the health care facility. That's crazy. So, long-term care. Thank you, Costin.
Are allergies evil? I am not sure about that.
Are allergies evil?
This long-term
We went through this with Grandma. Oh, okay. And I think this is what's going on with my grandma right now. There's like nowhere for her to go, so she's at her house right now. But $400 a day, that is insane. Compo chose neither. The family has been racking up a monster bill since March 11th that remains unpaid while her mother has stayed on at a Windsor, Ontario hospital. Well, that's like an impossible choice, right? Do I send my family member to a long-term care home where the quality of care is suspect, or do I keep them at a hospital and the hospital is going to charge me outrageous amounts of money to do this, which is absolutely ridiculous.
I think Freeport was trying to charge $600 a day.
I think Freeport was trying to charge $600 a day. Holy shit. That's insane. Campo's mother is among those caught up in a law that allows hospitals to place discharged patients into long-term care homes not of their choosing in order to free up beds should a patient refuse the move. Should the patient refuse the move, they face a $400 per day charge to remain at the hospital. Why not of their choosing? Why, I guess if there's no bed at the one of their choosing, the hospital, instead of saying, okay, well, you can stay here free of charge to wait, because that could be forever, they charge outrageous amounts of money per day to let you stay in that bed and have the doctors and nurses do their job to take care of you. Is there no other solution? Like, there's got to be a solution besides throw them in a shitty long-term care home or bankrupt the family by charging them an exorbitant amount of money to stay in the hospital. There's, this is crazy. I'm not too worried about it because I'm not paying it, Campo told the Canadian press. The law, known as Bill 7, was passed by the Doug Ford government in the fall of 2022 in an effort to open up much-needed hospital space. It is aimed at so-called alternative care patients who are discharged from hospital but need a long-term care bed and don't have one yet. Okay. Hospitals can send patients to nursing homes not of their choosing up to 7 kilometers away or up to 150 kilometers away in northern Ontario, if spaces open up there first. So yeah, there's, like I said, there has to be some sort of measure. Let's be fair, the long-term care home will bankrupt a family anyway. That's true. That's very true. And the hospital will the hospital send that to collections? They probably would. They probably would send that to collections. Which is kind of bullshit, but for Campo and her 83-year-old mother, Ruth Beaupard, the last few months have already been overwhelmingly stressful. Sorry. Even before even before the Bill 7 drama began. Popard lived through cancer, a heart valve transplant, and then the onset of dementia over the past few years. She moved in with Campo, who took care of her and has power of attorney for her mother. Over the last year, Popard's dementia deepened, her daughter said. Oh, that's sad. 2 days after Christmas, Popard hallucinated during the night, fell, and broke her hip. Campo rushed her to the hospital where she ended up having surgery. Popard was later moved to the Hotel de Grace healthcare hospital in Windsor for rehabilitation. On February 21st, Popard's attending physician discharged her, determining she no longer needed the hospital's specialized care. By then, Campo and her brother decided their mother needed more care than they could provide. We decided that it's time for long-term care, she said. The hospital helped with the paperwork, and Popard picked 5 nursing homes, the maximum allowed on her list. But those homes were full. Then the coordinator called me and said, okay, according to Bill 7, I added 2 other homes to the list, Campo said. The coordinator continued to add homes to Popard's list until there was one with an available bed. They called me up and said they had a home for her, and they had 24 hours to go look at it and get back to them, Campo said. And I think let's see. Dementia sufferers get this the most. Yeah. They do. Make sure that there are adequate quality LTCs and people will still hold out for their favorite. Yeah. One of the biggest ones in the country charged $6,000 a month just for basic care. I don't agree with. Why is it that long-term care facilities get to charge such an exorbitant amount of money? Like, I understand that you're doing pretty much everything for these people, but why are you insisting on basically draining everything that they've saved up for over their lives just so that they can have basic care? Like, not even anything special, just basic care. That I don't understand. There was no answer when she called, so Campo showed up at the downtown nursing home in Windsor last month with the code for the front door's keypad taped nearby. Oh, God. She walked right in. That's terrifying. That's not security. And as our population, when my mom went through this, we were given 3 options. Wow. And as our population grows older and lives longer, this is going to become more of a problem as we ourselves age. Yep. Greed. Yeah, you're right, cannibalistic wizard. I'm sorry, but it was disgusting, she said. The halls were cluttered, the rooms dirty, and it took her 15 minutes to find a staffer, she said. What the fuck? It was unlike the long-term care home she helped her father-in-law get into a few years prior, a beautiful place where he spent his final days. Yeah, no. These long-term care homes are squalid, basically prison cells for your old parents. Like these are shit. These are absolute, like these long-term care homes that she's describing, these are awful. So I went back to the coordinator and I said, "No, I'm sorry, I would not put my dog in there," Campo said. That's when the hospital said they would charging $400 a day if her mother refused to leave. And then they gave her a letter explaining the law and the charges to her mother. The demented woman. They gave the letter to the demented woman instead of the one who's got power of attorney. Hey, Lord Famine. That's normal in every long-term care home I go to. The code is taped right to the next to the numbers. Ah. It was like that when you volunteered. Ah. She read it and was really scared and confused, Campo said. No kidding! She has dementia. Why would you give that letter to her? The letter laid out the hospital's position. Given that you no longer need the specialized care at this hospital and have been offered a safe and supportive discharge plan, bullshit, and destination, your attending healthcare provider will be discharging you from the hospital on March 9th, 2024, the hospital wrote. Starting on March 11th, 2024, you will be charged $400 for every day that you remain in hospital. Campo said that she gave the hospital a piece of her mind. Oh, yeah, how dare you give that letter to my demented mother? I have power of attorney. First of all, that letter is retarded. Second of all, you give that letter to me, not my non-compos mentis mother. Let's see. Campo said she gave... Oh, sorry. I just said try it, she said. A month later, the coordinator has not reached out to discuss the issue or to add more homes to her mother's list or to communicate at all, Campo said. She is also frustrated by the fact that she has no recourse, no appeal process through the legislation. While Campo hasn't received a bill so far, she believes a big one is coming. Hotel de Grace Healthcare said it cannot comment on specific cases to protect the confidentiality of its patients. A spokesperson, oh my god, what the hell is wrong with me being not talking right today? A spokesperson for long-term care, Minister Stacho, said the bill is getting everyone the care when they need it. Or the care they need when they need it. Yeah, okay. It's not meant to be there as a lock, it's meant to be there as a dexterity deterrent for the elderly. Ah. Placement in an unpreferred home is a temporary measure until the spot in a preferred home becomes available, Daniel Strauss said. Except that's not what that happens, because once a spot in a preferred home becomes available, they reach out and they're like, oh, you're already in a home. Never mind, we're going to give it to someone who's not. Overall, of the over 17,000 discharged day LC patients, only 1.69% were added to an LTC home selected by a care coordinator, and only 0.04% of discharged patients have had a fee levied by a hospital. So, The province has said that 293 people have been placed into homes not of their choosing after the law, while 7 people have been charged by hospitals for refusing to go to a nursing home they did not select. The new law has also affected cultural nursing homes. The alternative level of care level patients are now prioritized for any home, including those geared towards people who prefer to live in a certain cultures. That has resulted in non-Italian speakers being placed in homes where all programming is offered in Italian, for example. What the
Chat message add pink hello.
That's retarded. Why would you do that?
Driving geek moderator. 99.9% pink ad reaction. But
Why would you place somebody in a home who doesn't speak that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. There's no way you can get the care you need in there. And if you're suffering from dementia, how are you supposed to react to what's going on around you if it's not in the language you speak? For Campo, the entire ordeal has caused pain, frustration, and anger. This law is elder abuse, she said, plain and simple. It really is. It really is. And it causes incredible amounts of pain for the family members who want nothing but the best for their elderly family members, and they want to be able to take care of them, but they just can't, and they need them to go into a medical facility that will.
the driving geek moderator. It's not meant to be there's ad reaction. But
It's really sad. This is what's going on with my grandmother right now. They can't find a home for her. So instead of putting her in an overcrowded hovel of a nursing home, she's staying at home, and my grandfather is just trying to care for her. And it's it's hard, and he's got his own issues, right? And it's just it's so difficult to have this to watch this happen to other people and know exactly how they feel. And it's I can't imagine how that poor woman felt when she got that letter. And she must have been so confused and scared. And she probably thought she was just going to get tossed out on the street. The hospital had no business giving that woman the letter. She should have given it to her. They should have given it to her daughter. Because her daughter is the power of attorney.
chat message add pink hello.
So
Driving geek moderator.
that's
It's not meant to be there's ad reaction.
that's awful.
Setting. Close. Almet 5.
It's
Open the app.
absolutely awful.
Chat message input. Tab.
Shame on the hospital for doing that.
Tab to edit. Use the rotor to access misspelled words.
Just straight up shame on the hospital. That is not at all how you provide care to a demented patient. That's messed up. Alright, I was just quickly checking Twitch chat to make sure that I hadn't missed anything. But we seem to be doing alright. Here we go. Alright, I don't know if you guys know about a company up in Canada called Edison Motors. And I didn't even know about them. Pincalo did. But I had no idea. Edison Motors is an electric truck conversion company. So they have these kits that you can buy and install in your, I guess, older truck and make it into an electric truck. And he's called it Edison Motors, which I think is kind of cool.
Chat message add pink hello.
So,
Driving geek moderator. It's not meant to be there's
but
ad
the
reaction.
there's some new laws coming in,
Text field. Double tap.
or that they want to come in, that is going to mess with these trucks and this whole thing. Again, they don't want entrepreneurial spirit in Canada, it seems. This is called Edison Motors Gets Screwed by Very Fishy British Columbia Government Grant. So let's take a look at this.
Hey, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. Or at least a better day than Edison Motors after realizing why it was they were denied their grant application. Edison Motors is a company that makes electric truck conversion kits. And these are not the type of people making a kit where it's constantly spying on you, where you can't fix it, where you can't buy parts. Rather, they do the opposite. What Edison Motors tries to do is they try to use off-the-shelf components that you can purchase to repair your own products. And they also sell kits that you can use so that you can do the conversion yourself.
Call you, Eric.
Ah!
Answer call. Answer call.
Hello? Hello?
Hi. No, that's not what it is.
Okay.
Chase is building basically Tesla motors for transport trucks,
Ah.
but with diesel electric instead of it's diesel electric generators instead of actual. It's diesel electric generators instead of batteries. So instead of having a battery pack like Teslas have, it's a diesel electric generator. So when the power runs low, it goes to diesel to charge, and then it keeps going. That's how that works.
That's a smarter idea.
Not a kit. I had to call because it wasn't going to go through fast enough. You're giving complete and utter wrong information. It is not a kit. He is trying to build from the ground up a diesel electric transport truck company like Nikolai.
Right.
Except legit. Remember the Nikolai, the transport truck that I laughed at and told you about? They flew to the top of the hill and just let go.
Yes.
That is not what Chase is doing. Chase is actually trying to build a diesel electric transport truck. He's a logger truck driver. So his whole plan is to make it work in the north because he's in BC.
Yeah.
So he's trying to make it work in the winter. That's what this video is about.
Okay.
I just wanted to let you know because you were wrong. That's okay, you're a woman. Bye.
Fuck off. Wow. Not a funny joke. Hello. Not a funny joke. Whatever. Okay.
They have interesting hats like this, poking fun, because they were sick and tired of waiting for the electric Tesla semi-truck, so they decided to make their own. The idea behind this truck is very simple. A, you should be able to put it together yourself.
Yes.
B, the parts should be parts that you can get off the shelf from somewhere else so that you can fix it if you want to. And C, it's primarily for the commercial trucking market.
Okay, so this is not for like an individual person. He wants to make, like Pincalo said, he wants to make this a like actual commercial effort.
Where there's actually a lot of use for this. You may think an all-electric truck is crazy, that's going to be crazy expensive, this, that, and the other. This is actually very economically viable for a number of reasons when you look at the market that they're looking to serve. The idea, let's say that you have a truck and you want to deal with lumber and logging. You have a 4,000-pound truck. You need to take that thing up a hill. Once you take the truck up the hill, you are now going to fill that truck up with 20,000 pounds of lumber. Now you're going to go down the hill. You went up the hill with 4,000 pounds. You're going down with 24,000 pounds.
You're going to go down the hill very fast.
This is where electric vehicles really come in handy because electric vehicles have something called regenerative braking. Regenerative braking means that the motor can then resist itself from moving, and as it resists itself from moving, it's going to then fill up the battery. It becomes a generator. So as you're going down a hill, you can actually fill up the battery because you have the motor resisting the 24,000-pound truck. Now,
okay. Honey, you should have done a video on this yourself. I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about. I'm so... Why did you think that I would understand any of this? And not because I'm a woman, because I don't understand this shit.
obviously, it's going to take less energy to go up the hill with 4,000 pounds than it is with 24,000 pounds. So again, you go up with 4,000, you go down with 24,000. You can go up the hill with the diesel generator, But then you go down the hill charging the battery, which means that you can now go up the hill again with the electric motor. This means that you need far less diesel fuel and conversely, far less diesel emissions. This is actually green. You're taking the benefits of diesel, you're taking the benefits of electric motors and lithium polymer batteries, and you're using it to have less emissions while being seamless to the trucker. The trucker is not going to go, oh my God, I have to charge this thing every 10 minutes, because when you run out of battery, it just uses the diesel generator. But
Yeah, okay, now I think I get it. But the thing is that these dumbass climate change people are going to be, but you still need to use diesel!
when you're going down a hill, instead of wasting all of that energy from going down the hill, you're using going down the hill with that 20,000 pounds of lumber to recharge the battery. This is actually green, and it's from a company that really cares about repairability, sustainability, and you being able to say that you own what you bought and paid for. I did an interview with them for an hour, and in my opinion...
And yes, you do have tiny, tiny girl brain syndrome. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. That's fine. If I have tiny, tiny girl brain syndrome, that's fine. If I have tiny, tiny girl brain syndrome, then, you're the one who got together with me.
Chat message adds Lord Famine moderator. Hybrid vehicles make a ton more sense than pure electric.
Hybrid vehicles make a ton more sense than pure electric. Yes, they do. But these dumbasses want pure electric cars. They don't want hybrid vehicles. Hybrid vehicles scare the shit out of me, though, because when they're stopped at stoplights and that the gas motor turns off, and then they press down on the accelerator to go again, and the gas motor re-engages again, and it makes that turning over sound, and I'm like, ah! What the fuck was that?
Lord Famine Lord Famine
His...
I think Paula driving a careful or her tiny girl brain might forget to make you dinner. But ad reaction.
No, I might not forget to make him dinner, but I might forget how to do something else.
Good evening. We are learning more about what exactly the Prime Minister knew about foreign interference and the advice given to him. Justin Trudeau's inner circle testified at the public inquiry today. The gatekeepers during 2 previous elections did not recommend any action to counter Chinese meddling.
Yeah, isn't that great how the US was yelling about Russian interference that never happened? Meanwhile, up here, Canada is desperately trying to cover up Chinese interference that did happen. My retort proves your point. Oh my God.
CTV's Judy Trin reports.
Members of the Prime Minister's inner circle put on the hot seat. They were briefed by intelligence officials about Chinese meddling in the past 2 elections, but pushed back on the information.
The past 2 elections! 2 of them! This is bad. So the 2021 and the 2019 elections were both interfered with by China. They had intelligence on it. They were told, and they're like, nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. I forgot the word shoe the other day. That's funny. See, okay, Lord Famine. Have a good day at work. Meanwhile, Tiny Girl Brain actually forgets that that is a 2-way street.
I believe it's our responsibility in seeing it to ask as many questions as we can about it, at times challenge it.
The inquiry heard
at times challenge
the Prime
it.
Minister's inner circle put on the hot seat. They were briefed by intelligence officials about Chinese meddling in the past 2 elections, but pushed back on the information.
I believe it's our responsibility in seeing it to ask as many questions as we can about it, at times challenge it.
Challenge it? Challenge? Wait, you believe it's your responsibility to question and challenge intelligence reports? Really? Okay. I didn't know that's not what you're supposed to do with intelligence reports, my dear. That is not at all what you're supposed to do with intelligence
the
reports.
Heard in September 2019, Justin Trudeau's top advisors were shown intelligence that China was interfering in the riding of Don Valley North. The Liberals' national campaign manager testified he briefed the Prime Minister but didn't recommend any action.
Yeah, I told him. But, I just told him. I didn't recommend anything, happen. I just let him know. I just kind of gave him a phone call. It was, hey, just FYI, the Chinese are interfering with the election. Oh, okay. Cool, thanks.
And based on what I thought should be an extremely high bar for overturning a democratic result, I had recommended to the Prime Minister that no action be taken.
To all my colleagues in the Parliament,
the inquiry also heard that after intelligence leaks suggested that Dong told a consulate official to delay the release of the two Michaels, Trudeau's team wanted to release other information to help clear the MP's name, but couldn't.
The conclusion was no, it cannot be made public. So we couldn't actually, in a clear way, defend Han Dong against this allegation, which was wrong.
Between June...
So the Chinese made up an allegation about an MP, and then they weren't allowed to clear his name? And this is okay? This is okay for people? This is... Oh my god, between the breach at the lab in Winnipeg, he needs to be just brought up, CSIS needs to arrest him, seriously, and he needs to go to jail
2018 and December
for treason.
2022, there have been 34 CSIS briefings revealing
Jesus!
China clandestinely and deceptively interfered in both the 2019 and 2021 elections, and that cabinet, senior government, and top election officials were briefed. Critics say it's mind-boggling that the government put in place special mechanisms which found threats but didn't issue warnings.
This is bad. This is beyond bad. This is dangerous. This is to the point where we need to get these people out. Out now. This is terrifying. They were briefed and no action was recommended. They were briefed. They didn't take action themselves. They were my brain is kind of short-circuiting here with things to say.
You didn't see any proof that this information was coming from China. Well, does he expect to see fingerprints?
The Prime Minister will testify tomorrow afternoon. He'll be asked questions about what he knew about Chinese interference and when, but more importantly, what he's done since then to protect Canada's democratic institutions.
Shit.
Judy, thanks.
So he's testifying today, I think. Which means he's going to be in Ottawa, which means he'll be in question period. Or this was from I think that was from yesterday. So he will probably be in the question period that we will be covering. So that's I'm flabbergasted here. I am absolutely both the 2019 and the 2021. I was not surprised about the 2021 election, but the 2019, wow. Well, actually, interesting, because the 2019 election was in October. Trudeau gets reelected. Then in November, December, we have the breach in the lab. Then we have, wow. You could make a complete conspiracy theory out of this. If I was an absolute nut job, I could say that the re-election of Justin Trudeau was orchestrated by China in order to make the coronavirus. If I was that kind of a person, if I was that kind of a nut job, I could make that connection. 'Cause 2019 election, October. Breach of the Winnipeg lab, December. Then we have January, February, the beginning of the COVID outbreak. Like, really? Like, holy shit. This is crazy. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. I can't believe that. And then they wonder why conspiracy theories abound everywhere. It's like, well, stop being shady. And just maybe, if you stop being clandestine and shady all the time, people won't make conspiracy theories up all the time. And maybe most of them will turn out not to be true. Because right now, most of the conspiracy theories that people come up with end up becoming true. So, like, how about you guys stop doing this shit? Holy crap. Okay, we've got 28 minutes into this video. And it's a 1 hour 20... Holy shit. They go for an hour for question period. Okay, let's see. So we're going to start here, and I think we've got the British guy for translator today.
Questions orales, oral questions.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Yep, it's the British dude.
The common sense Conservatives want to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. But this Prime Minister is simply not worth the cost. After 8 years, he's doubled national debt, which has led to rampant generational inflation, forcing 2 million Canadians to food banks. According to his own statistics, the Prime Minister has spent more on interest on that than on health.
Holy shit.
Why is he giving more money to bankers than to actual healthcare professionals? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Oh, good, he is here.
Mr. Speaker, quite the contrary. It's the Conservatives who continue to put forward austerity and cuts whilst we invest in nurses and doctors. We are here to invest $200 billion, Mr. Speaker, over the next...
$200 billion? Where are you getting that money? Where? $200 billion. Are you gonna actually send the transfer payments out to the provinces, or are you gonna set up stupid targets for them too?
For the next 10 years, in order to improve our healthcare system, we are here to deliver a national program for food at schools to help children.
We don't want that.
With a full stomach.
We don't want national food programs at schools.
Childcare benefits so that families can take care of their children while working.
Yeah, you know what? Increase the Canada Child Benefit to $2,000 a month then.
Here to help them. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. But he's still not worth the cost. He continues to spend, causing worst inflation levels. There are 2 million people that have to go to food banks every month. He's doubled the cost of housing, even after having spent $80 billion in housing. These are programs that balloon government costs. and that but into provincial jurisdictions. Will he finally
True.
meet our premiers to defend his inflationist and expansionist policy?
Again, he's pointing out the truth here. These policies are cutting into the jurisdiction of the provinces. That's what Quebec is mostly bitching about, is jurisdictional stuff. Now, the problem is that they're not just doing this to Quebec, they're doing this to Ontario. And when I was talking yesterday about the transfer payments, that's what I mean. Like, they're holding housing transfer payments hostage at the moment, because they're saying, oh, you don't have enough new homes built. You don't have enough affordable homes built. Meanwhile, the provinces are not only trying to build new homes from scratch, from the ground up, but they're also looking at older homes that are not at the stage that they need to be condemned, but they need repairs. And they're funneling money into repairing and restoring older homes as well. But the federal government is not counting those as new affordable homes.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. We will continue to meet premiers to work on affordability for families. In order to work for housing investments in Quebec, for example, we've put forward $900 million for the House Building Accelerator Fund, and Quebec is doubling that money, meeting us halfway to build houses throughout the province. We are here to work hand in hand with provinces to fight against climate change, to fight against the housing crisis. And what strong arm bullshit did you pull on Quebec before they met? Invest in seniors. We will be here to build a stronger future whilst the Conservatives keep preaching austerity every single day.
Yeah, because we need it. And they're not just going to hack, like Pierre Poilievre has never said he's just going to free, clear, hack, and slash the taxes. There are very specific taxes that he's going to cut. There are very specific policies that he wants to cut. Not just like hack and slash cutting the way Doug Ford did when he came into Ontario. Now, there was a bunch of austerity stuff that needed to happen, but the way Doug Ford did it was very willy-nilly and not in a structured fashion. Pierre Poilievre seems to have more of a structured plan.
Common sense Conservatives will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. This Prime Minister is not worth the cost. Indeed, his carbon tax, which the Parliamentary Budget Officer has proven costs 60% of Canadians more than they get back in rebates, is now opposed by 70% of Canadians. Everybody understands that the tax is driving people to the food bank. That's why 6 premiers, including the Liberal Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, have asked for a meeting. Will he agree to a televised carbon tax conference?
Yes,
so sure of himself on this
a televised one. Yes, not just a conference, a televised conference.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Parliamentary Budget Officer has confirmed that 8 out of 10 families across the country get more money with the Canada Carbon Rebate attached to the price on pollution than it costs them. That's $1,800 arriving for a family of 4 in Alberta. It's thousands of dollars right across the country. These are things that are helping people with the high cost of living and groceries at the same time as we fight climate change.
How about,
Mr. Speaker, what would...
Okay. Stop with the fighting climate change bullshit. Nobody wants this. Nobody thinks that money is going to fight climate change, except for you.
As if we were able to deliver the doubling of the rural top-up to put hundreds of dollars in the pockets of Canadians, but the Conservative Party is blocking the legislation to double the rural top-up.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that is mathematically impossible, that given that the NDP Liberal government has a combined majority and can do anything it wants, which is exactly why we're in such a mess today as a country. After 8 years, this NDP
Right? Like, how can the Conservatives block anything? They don't have enough seats.
60% of Canadians are paying more in carbon taxes than getting back in rebates. But why doesn't the Prime Minister, if he believes the contrary, why doesn't he have the courage to sit down in a televised and open forum and have a carbon tax conference with the premiers?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
We did sit down with the premiers 8 years ago and established the
8 years ago. I did sit down with the premiers 8 years ago. I shouldn't have to do it again. Fuck off. He sounds bored of his own bullshit. He kind of does.
down with the premiers 8 years ago and established the
I sat down with them 8 years ago. I shouldn't have to do it again.
price on pollution and puts more money back in the pockets out of 8 of 10.
I shouldn't have to sit down with those plebs. I already did.
That is a way of both fighting climate change and helping with affordability.
Wow, dude.
Not only are the Conservative Party counting on taking away those Canada carbon rebate checks, they're arriving this coming Monday on April 15th. People will see in their bank accounts the Canada carbon rebate that puts more money in their pockets ahead of the costs associated with fighting
I'm panicking. I'm panicking. And notice they're giving the carbon rebate out the day before they announce the budget.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he met the premiers in 2016. Since that time, he's broken the promise he made them. He said the tax would only go up to 11 cents a litre. Now, he admits it will go up to 61 cents a litre.
That's a very big difference. 11 versus 61.
He said the tax would make people better off. Now we have the Parliamentary Budget Officer's report, which confirms 60% of Canadians pay more than they get back. The Prime Minister said, and I quote, in 2015, Canadians need a PM who will meet with the premiers.
Yep.
What happened?
He did. And that's one of the big things that got Justin Trudeau elected the first time was he ran on election reform. He ran on transparent government. He ran on an open and transparent prime minister that would sit down with the premiers and work with the provinces and he ran on election reform. Like, he ran on a whole bunch of things that a lot of younger people wanted. It wasn't just legalizing weed. That it's not like, it was not just he's gonna legalize weed that got him elected in 2015. He ran on a whole bunch of things that a lot of people wanted. Yes, you sat down with Kathleen Wynne. That's how long ago it was. Exactly.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
While the Conservative leader continues with his misinformation and disinformation, the reality
what mis and disinformation, dude?
Said that 8 out of 10 Canadians do better with our price on pollution and the Canada carbon rebate. But speaking of misinformation and disinformation, any responsible leader that receives an endorsement and support from proven conspiracy theorist and liar Alex Jones would have immediately denounced that. But that's not what the leader of the opposition
didn't get an endorsement.
Absolutely nothing, because those kinds of endorsements fit within his political strategy.
Wow, that's where you go. You can't answer a question about meeting with the premiers. You've got to be like, but Alex Jones likes him, so he should have said something about Alex Jones liking him. Otherwise, he's a bad person, 'cause He didn't acknowledge that Alex Jones said he was an okay guy. And that means that he likes Alex Jones and thinks Alex Jones is God. That's all he's got. Alex Jones said he was a nice guy. Yeah. Almost all the provinces have changed leaderships completely since 8 years ago. Yeah. But yeah, that's all he's got. Alex Jones said he was a nice guy.
À l'ordre. Order.
The Honourable Member for Bailleau-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is multiplying interference in Quebec's jurisdiction. In Ottawa, there's no department or expertise in health or education or childcare or municipal affairs. They don't know how things work, but they have our money due to a budgetary imbalance. Does he recognise that the Assemblée nationale of Quebec has better skills in healthcare, education, childcare and municipal affairs?
Yet considering that those are all provincial jurisdictions, that they should be allowed to operate those departments?
Simple question. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we've always recognised and respected provincial jurisdictions, and we respect Quebec's specificities, but we know that even with all the expertise under the sun, there are still Canadians who are finding housing, who are trying to find housing, people who are trying to find childcare spots, people who are finding it hard to make ends meet. And as a federal government, we are here to work in partnership with Quebec, with provinces, in order to invest in the help that people need. Yes, we have federal money, but we are here to invest it with provinces in order to help Canadians, and that's what we need to do.
Except you hold those investments hostage when provinces don't do what you want. So how does that work? If you're gonna play extortionist, then you're not really working with the provinces, are you?
The Honourable Member for Bailleau-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, when my car breaks down, I don't give my money to my dentist. Because my dentist doesn't know how to fix a car. They don't know how things work in Quebec. They have to whittle together some skills in jurisdictions that are not theirs. Their interference makes things longer and more expensive, and it won't be better than if they just let us spend our money. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Right. Why are you sticking your nose into provincial jurisdiction? Why not just give the transfer payments and move along?
We will always work hand in hand with the provinces in order to deliver services that Canadians need. But let us talk about dentists, Mr. Speaker. 1.7 million seniors throughout the country have signed up to our dental care program that will be delivered from coast to coast to coast, and that includes Quebec. We are here.
But Quebec doesn't want it. And neither does Ontario, because we have a dental program.
To make sure that seniors in Quebec and throughout the country can obtain the healthcare that they need and that they could not afford before now. We are here to help the well-being of all Canadians and all Quebecers, and we'll always do so.
We are here to help. Never, okay, when he literally just said the famous line that you should never say if you're a government official. I am here to help.
Jurisdictions and in partnership with our partners. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
From Burnaby South.
Oh, here comes Jagmeet.
Mr. Climate deny, Mr. Climate delay, strike again. The Corporate Knights report shows that the Prime Minister is delaying $15 billion that he promised to hardworking Canadians to lower their costs and their emissions. Yet the Prime Minister has no problem finding $18.6 billion in free subsidies for big oil and gas.
Do I sense trouble in paradise? Do I sense trouble in paradise? From from the NDP and the Liberals.
So why is it that the Prime Minister wants to put shoulder the burden of the climate crisis on hardworking people and not give them a hand, but wants to give billions of dollars, like the Conservatives, to big oil and gas corporations?
Yeah! Who the fuck was that?
Dollars, like the Conservatives, to big oil and gas corporations.
Who the fuck was that? Yeah!
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we committed to phase out inefficient fuel and gas subsidies, oil and gas subsidies, 2 years ahead of all of our partners around the world. We're going to continue to do that. But it's unfortunate to see that the NDP seems to be falling into the Conservative misinformation trap.
Oh!
Price on pollution actually puts more money back in the pocket
Wow!
of 10 Canadian families right across the country.
That's gonna piss Singh off.
Low-income families, while we continue to fight climate change. Yes, Mr. Speaker, we developed a way to fight climate change and reduce emissions while putting more money in people's
That's
pockets.
gonna piss Singh off a lot.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Paying the $15 billion for hardworking people, and that's wrong. L'été dernier.
Last summer, children were not able to go out and play and have fun in the park because of forest fire smoke.
Oh, shut up!
The Liberals
They can't go play in the park because of forest fire smoke! Where? Where are there any forest fires going on right now?
think it is smart to delay climate action. They send $18 billion in subsidies to big oil companies, yet are delaying $15 billion in investments for the climate crisis and to help people. Why
yes, more money for the climate crisis. It will make it go away, I promise.
Canadians. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, we see every single year the ever-worsening impacts of climate change and the costs thereof, which affect Canadians, our economy. And that is the reason for which we'll continue to fight against climate change whilst putting more money in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians. Because
fight against climate change with cash.
Fight against climate change.
That will do it.
Help with the cost of living. Unfortunately, the Conservatives continue to say no to fighting climate change.
Yeah, forest fire smoke that is trapped inside the skyscrapers laden landscape. Wait, I gotta read that again. Yeah, forest fire smoke that is trapped inside of the skyscrapers laden landscape that is the city. Yep. Oh, don't you remember what Elizabeth May said? The forest fires decided to go hide underground in the fall. Oh yeah, the zombie fires. Yes. The zombie fires hiding under the snow. I remember that.
Change. They want to remove investments to help Canadians.
Speaker, the incoming leader of the Liberal Party has just given a speech and given advice to his soon-to-be predecessor. He said that he agrees, this is Mark Carney, says he agrees that there should be a carbon tax conference where the premiers can come together and share their concerns about the Prime Minister raising the cost of living and breaking the back of Canadians. Will the Prime Minister won't listen to me. He won't listen to the Liberal Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador. Will he at least listen to his successor and meet the premiers on the carbon tax?
Ouch. Wow, did he just leave? Did he just leave?
Listen to the Liberal Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador. Will he at least listen to his successor and meet the premiers on the carbon tax?
Did he just... Coward. Yeah, he either sat down or he left. Because fire has sentience. I think he either sat down or he walked out.
Order. The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, it is important for folks, for Canadians who are watching this debate, to be careful about the misinformation being spewed by the Leader of the Opposition.
Wow.
It is important for a responsible government in this country
What
to have a
misinformation?
plan for
He
addressing
just
climate change
asked
and do
if
so in
the...
a manner that enhances and
So it's
addresses
misinformation that the premiers want a meeting? That's misinformation?
concerns. That is exactly what the price on pollution does. 8 out of 10 Canadian families get more money back. 200 economists across the country agree with us. It is such a shame that we have a bunch of climate deniers over there who have no plan for the environment and no plan for the economy.
I ask all members, please, to
A bunch of
only take the
climate
mic,
deniers.
only take the floor when they're recognized.
Yeah, nobody's denying that there's climate. I'm sorry.
The Speaker. I'll recognize the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, Mark Carney, who is the next Liberal leader, is a fierce supporter of the carbon tax. He's been called Carbon Tax Carney in the past, and he is willing at least to defend his carbon tax views in front of the premiers. The Prime Minister is not. He's running for cover and hiding from Canadians, refusing to defend
He did leave.
his own policy decisions. If the Prime Minister is really so proud of his plan to hike the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre, why won't he listen to Mark Carney?
He actually fucked off.
And televised carbon tax conference.
And I love how he's basically saying that there's somebody else who's better for the job and he's already waiting in line. That's amazing.
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's very interesting that the Leader of the Opposition seems so fond of Mark Carney these days, who actually, as you say, does believe in a price on pollution. Perhaps the Leader of the Opposition should listen to him. But it is important with respect to the premiers to know
Did you not
that
hear
premiers
what
have
he
every
just
right
said?
To submit a plan
He
that
used
actually
them
meets
as
the
an
federal benchmark
example,
and put in place their
dumbass.
own price on pollution. That is something that British Columbia has done. That is something that Quebec has done. Mr. Speaker, Premier Moe was actually here recently and testified before the committee. And what Premier Moe said is he looked at alternatives to the price on pollution. He found every one of them to be too expensive. This from a guy who has no climate plan, no...
Oh, he's yelling. He's yelling now.
The Honourable Member from Thornhill.
Last week, the Prime Minister increased the carbon tax by 23% on Canadians, on gas, on groceries, on home heating. He's doubling down and defying 70% of Canadians and 8 premiers who want him to axe the tax. 6 of those premiers wrote the Prime Minister asking for a meeting to talk about his punishing carbon tax. Instead, the Prime Minister just shot down the idea because they already had a meeting 8 years ago. Can the Prime Minister tell us how many premiers he met in 2016 that are still in power today?
Oh, good one. See, she called it out. She called it out, honey. You know how you said that they've already changed leaders? She called it out. She's like, how many of those leaders that you met are still leaders? Take a shot.
The Honourable Minister for Families and Social Development.
Mr. Speaker, actions speak more than words. Our actions on this side of the House.
Yeah, they do.
750,000.
I'm going to ask the Honourable Minister to start again because the Chair sincerely could not hear what the Minister was saying. The Honourable Minister for Families, Children and Social Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said, actions speak louder than words. On this side of the House, our actions, over 750,000 families benefiting from affordable childcare spaces.
Yeah, there are more than that in
Spaces
Canada.
across the country. 7 million children whose parents benefit from the Canada Child Benefit.
Yeah, you didn't create that.
National school food policy. Their actions, Mr. Speaker, vote against funding to increase the number of spaces. Vote against a national school food policy, Mr. Speaker. They've made it clear they're not there for Canadian families.
The Honourable Member member from Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know if she missed the question, but Canadians certainly missed the answer. It's 0. 2016 is the last time he had a meeting. Pokemon Go, dabbing, Harambe, that's what was popular in 2016. And you can get an apartment for half the price. Since the last time the Prime Minister had a meeting with the premiers, gas and groceries have skyrocketed and interest rates have increased 10 times over. So will he put aside his
Did she really have to say Harambe?
And meet the premiers?
I like Michelle Landsman. Is that who that is? We need to change her title to the Ministry of Helen Lovejoys. We do. We really do.
For innovation.
Speaker, what Canadians will see today is one thing.
Mr. Speaker, I am the Clocksworth Lumiere person of this covenant.
Mr. Speaker, the cost of flooding in our country, the cost of drought, Mr. Speaker, when each of these conservatives are standing up, they're telling Canadians they have no plan, Mr. Speaker, to fight climate change. On this side of the House, we recognize, like all Canadians, we need to act to save the planet. We need to act on climate change. That's why we're going to invest in Canadians.
Save the planet? Fuck off. The planet doesn't give a fuck about what we're doing. The planet, all the planet needs to do is make one of its super volcanoes go pop, and then we're done. So shut the fuck up with your "we need to save the planet."
That's why we're going
fuck
to
my
continue to
life.
invest to make sure that we have a planet to live for children.
Then I have
the honourable member for Louis-Saint-Laurent. Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this Liberal government, housing has never been in such a sorry state. Rents have doubled, mortgages have doubled. And what's this government strategy? To have a photo op. They always have an announcement with a photo op, but yesterday they breached new grounds. Yesterday the Prime Minister did a photo op on a roof. That doesn't help Canadians put a roof over their heads.
Photo op on a roof?
What is the government's plan to help Canadians who can't find a roof for their heads?
Let alone to
the
stand
Honourable
on.
Minister for Public Works and Government Services. As we said, there are two clear figures: 6 and 8,000. As during his mandate as housing minister, there were 6 affordable housing units.
Oh, are we doing this again? Are we doing this? 6 and 8,000.
42 new housing units. That means
do you know why we needed only 6 federally funded units in like the early 2000s? Because average house prices were half of what they are now.
In his riding, we have created 7 more housing units than his leader did during his mandate as housing minister.
That probably sounded better in French. Probably.
Just 1 second. The honourable member for Louis-Saint-Laurent, from the top. Mr. Speaker, I would like to tell my honourable colleague that I know what happens in my riding, and that yes, people are finding it hard to make ends meet. Yes, inflation is hitting people hard, and yes, this government is just spending without control, and that is adding fire to the flames of inflation. Mr. Speaker, the member, who is a minister as well, who is a well-respected academic, how will he explain to his future students that a budget can balance itself?
Oh! They're just throwing old Trudeau lines back at the government. Oh my god, I love that.
The Prime Minister keeps claiming. The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague. I respect him. First of all, austerity is not a solution in 2024. The second thing I have to say is that respect is the foundation of academic relations.
We were also not importing millions from other countries in droves. Yeah.
To Quebec City, because he called the leaders to Quebec City, because he called the leaders of Quebec City incompetent, which is a shambles. The honourable member for Jonquière. New day, new interference. Today, it's the mental health of students that the Liberals want to manage. The same government that, let's not forget, is incapable of paying its own public servants through Phoenix.
Again, another thing that keeps popping up to bite them in the ass. The pay system and their public servants.
Same one that was unable to print passports. The same one that lost control of the borders and exacerbated the housing crisis. Imagine. The government now wants to manage the care offered to young people in distress. Are you reassured? Because I'm certainly not. Once again, since the federal government has no expertise in mental health, it manages no clinics and no psychologists. Let's be serious one moment, Mr. Speaker. Is it finally going to transfer this money to Quebec? The Honourable Minister for Transport.
Why the hell is the Minister for Transport answering a mental health question?
When we invest in housing, everyone, the Bloc cries, the Conservative cries. When we invest in food for our younger students, they cry. When we invest in our seniors, the Bloc and the Quebec and the Bloc and the Conservatives cry. They're just crying together at the end of the day. You don't know which one's which at the end of the day. So at the end,
is that
we're
all
just
you
gonna have? The
have?
same people.
Is that all you have? The Bloc and the Conservatives don't like how we're spending the money. It's almost like they're the same person. No, it's almost like they have the same idea or the same grievance, but with different reasons. Like, holy shit. Is that the best you've got? Oh my god, I can't even believe this. Okay, I'm gonna do a be right back because I just realized we're almost at the hour-and-a-half mark, and I'm gonna go refill my coffee and go to the washroom. So I shall return in a moment. Let me just put on some music and mute my microphone, and I shall return. Okay. Oops. There we go. Okay. Let's go back to the correct screen. All right. Oh, wow. Lots of things happening over there.
Dear colleagues, I would like to ask all members to make sure that language used be respectful and
Dear colleagues, everybody shut up and stop
halls.
swearing at each other.
The Honourable Member for Jonquière. We'd just like to let the federal government know that we have collaborated well when they copied our childcare program. Given that we already had the skills, they sent us the money unconditionally and everyone was happy. So why would it be different for mental health? With pharmacare that we've had for nearly 30 years, with dental care that we've had for over 50 years, why, for this case, can they not just simply transfer the money to Quebec? The Honourable Minister for Transport.
Again,
Mr.
why
Speaker,
is the
Bloc
Minister
never
for
happy. We invest in
Transport
housing,
not
they're
talking
not
about
happy.
this?
We invest in our children, they're not happy. We invest in food banks, they're not happy. The
Holy
Bloc
crap.
is never happy.
Why are we allowing the Minister for Transport to answer a question about mental health?
The Honourable Member for Avignon-la-Métis, Matane-Matapédia. While the Liberals try to govern Quebec, instead of Quebec, no one is governing the federal government. There's no one to table a true transition plan for the fisheries sector. There's no one to deal with a comprehensive reform of employment insurance. This morning, we even learned that the federal government is $14 billion behind in its promises to invest in the fight against climate change.
Oh my god, stop talking about the fight against climate change!
By meddling in other people's business,
I
the government
really
is
don't
forgetting
like
to deal
hearing
with the major
that.
issues for which it is directly responsible. So, if there's no shortage of work at the federal level, why don't the Liberals actually get on with it and do their jobs?
That's a
The
good
Honourable
question.
Minister for the Environment and Climate Change. Thank you, Mrs. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. As she knows full well, for a long time, I've fought for the environment to fight against climate change, and back then we all had a dream. When I was in the private sector, we wanted...
We had a dream! A dream where if you shoveled cash at the government, that climate change would go away! Yes! We had a dream!
A federal government that would invest billions upon billions in fighting climate change. It never happened before we came to power, Mr. Speaker. At the time, it was just $100 million, a couple of $100 million, but now these are a couple of $100 billion that we're using to fight climate change. This is an absolute record in the history of our country.
Yes, it's an absolute record amount of money that you're shoveling towards climate change. And is it changing any climate? Has the climate been affected by your hundreds of billions of dollars? 'Cause I don't think so. I bet you we're still gonna have some forest fires this year. We probably won't have as many because the guy that was setting them last year is in jail, but I mean...
We are transforming the economy and jobs for decades to come and in fighting our climate change.
The Honourable Member from
I have hiccups, no!
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this Liberal NDP government, this Prime Minister is just not worth the cost. The Prime Minister raised his carbon tax 23% last week, driving up the cost of gas and groceries. Fortunately, Conservative Bill C-234 will exempt farmers' grain drying and barn heating from the carbon tax so food remains affordable. Will the Prime Minister lower costs on farmers and make food cheaper by passing Bill C-234 in its original form?
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources and Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, it's important to actually...
Again, why do people who think that they're all high and mighty have to say the AIN like it's again?
Farmers and farm incomes on a go go-forward
We all
basis.
know it's
In
pronounced
Canada, 8 out of
again.
10 Canadian families get more money
Why
back.
do you say
In fact,
again?
Professor Dalter at the University of Regina, who the honourable
Like
member
you
might
think
want to go
you're
talk
better
to,
than
called
us.
out the Conservatives last week for misinformation. When Conservative leader and his ally and the Conservative leader's ally Scott Moe appeared before committee on the carbon price, journalists called his appearance a parade of nonsense and completely dishonest.
Yes, because journalists never lie. It hasn't been proven already that most of the journalists in Canada running in the mainstream media are funded by the federal government. No.
Canadians with affordable.
The honourable member from Regina, Wisconsin.
Mr. Speaker, it's clear that the Prime Minister is not going to back down from his carbon tax obsession. It's clear that he is going to continue to raise the carbon tax on gas, groceries, and home heating and make life even more expensive for Canadians. Since the Prime Minister refuses to call a carbon tax election, will he at least meet with the premiers and listen to their plans to make life more affordable?
Nope.
The honourable minister.
Screw the premiers.
As the honourable member knows full well, provinces and territories can put in place their own price on pollution. That is what British Columbia has done. That is what Quebec has done.
And you're still charging them the carbon tax.
Fighting change. But the honourable member comes from a province that has no climate plan, no climate targets. Their premier admits that the price on
They're a shitty province. They don't have a climate plan.
He does nothing. That's a shame.
They don't care about the planet.
The honourable member from Red Deer, Mountain View.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this NDP Liberal government, Canadians are tapped out. April 1st saw Canadians hit with a 23% carbon tax increase by these Liberals. As a farmer, Mr. Speaker, I know the first-hand true impact of carbon tax bills on farm operations. The Prime Minister is not worth the cost. It's time to axe the tax on farmers and food and pass Bill C-234. Will the Prime Minister lower costs on farmers and make food cheaper by passing Bill C-234 in its original form?
No. Because I bet you the altered form that they wanted to pass has something to do with the Ukraine.
I appreciate my honourable colleague's question, but it's important to remind my colleague, as a farmer, I'm fully aware that farmers are on the front line of climate change. And it's important to realize, Mr. Speaker, that farmers are devastated by massive storms on the prairie. Straw worth $300 a bale. That is crazy, Mr. Speaker. We have a plan to address climate change.
Oh my God.
Canada carbon
They have insurance for shit like that, dude.
10 Canadians. We are addressing climate change.
Lower the carbon tax so that they.
Mr. Speaker.
What a stupid thing to say.
From Simcoe Gray.
Mr. Speaker,
You don't think that they don't have insurance for like damage, like fire damage or storm damage if their hay gets destroyed?
Answer call, but voicemail.
Really? That's ridiculous. Where's my chat here? Ah! Misinformation, take a shot. It's because they're retarded.
Prime Minister tweets out sunny way.
I see if you guys every time if you guys want me to take shots whenever they say misinformation, streamlabs.com/blindpress. Let me get a bottle of something.
Food banks in Simcoe County are reporting a 100% increase in use. Last week at the Angus Food Bank, Director Heather Morgan told me that active soldiers from Base Borden are regular visitors. Let that sink in.
That's
Meanwhile,
fucked up.
Liberals hiked the carbon tax by 23% and continue to delay Common Sense Bill C-234. Will the Prime Minister pass Bill C-234 in its original form?
Some farmers are seeing a tax on carbon at $17,000 for 1 month. Jesus
and axe the tax
Christ.
on farmers and make food more affordable,
for all Canadians.
17 grand in 1 month just for carbon tax. For like your fuel, your heat, for your barn. You know, you're drying out your grain, you're plowing your field, like all that shit.
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources and Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The whole structure of the price on pollution, as the honourable member knows, is done in a manner that creates an incentive to reduce carbon emissions, but do so in a manner that is affordable for Canadians. 8 out of 10 Canadians get more money back. It works in direct proportion to income, so that those who live on the most modest incomes...
I feel like these guys are getting tired of saying the same lie over and over again.
To understand that or not,
you think they'll crack and just tell the truth at some point?
Admitted that carbon pricing is the most effective and efficient way to reduce emissions. Get with the program.
Certain members would like to make sure that questions and comments are directed through the chair. The Honourable
The Honourable Member for New Westminster Burnaby.
To the NDP, we now have dental care in Canada. This was opposed by the corporate conservatives at every
Thanks to the NDP, we now have dental care in Canada. You know, it's like when they say it like that, it's like until the NDP showed up with this bill, there were no dentists anywhere. Meanwhile, my dentist just called me and had to leave a message. And it's not funded through the federal government, so I don't know what the hell you're talking about. There is not insurance for that per se, act of God. And on top of that, a lot of times arson is excluded. Oh fuck, that sucks.
2 million seniors will benefit from the dental care program in a
Arson is
few weeks' time.
excluded in insurance comp? That's fucking bullshit.
Seniors shouldn't have to wait any longer to benefit.
Because what if you're not the arsonist?
What will the minister do?
Like, I get it. They don't want to reward people burning down their shit, right? But what if you didn't burn your shit down and some random wacko pyromaniac did? Shouldn't you get compensation for that?
Registered will benefit from the dental care program without delay.
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is exactly right. When parties work together and focus on solutions, we get things done. And that means making sure that for millions of Canadians who don't have access to oral health care, they're going to get dental care. 1.7 million seniors have signed up. We've seen hundreds of thousands of dental providers across the country sign up. We're creating a new portal to make sure that it's even easier for dentists to
boy,
participate
a new government portal. That won't have issues at all.
Difficult times by making things better together.
The Honourable Member from North Island, Powell River.
Mr. Speaker, the Guaranteed Income Supplement is a lifeline for seniors across this country. Shamefully, at a time when grocery prices and rents are sky high, the Liberals are clawing back this support for more than 100,000 seniors receiving workers' compensation. This is wrong. The Liberals shouldn't be punishing seniors who were injured on the job. When will this government reverse the clawback so that seniors can afford groceries and rent?
When will the government stop any clawback? Like, ugh. I just saw a car fly off the road and go into a farmer's field. Insurance might not cover that. That sucks.
Speaker, I'm very proud to stand in this House next to the Minister of Health as we roll out one of the
It's more of a
social
pain in the
programs
ass
that
than my
Canada
cargo
has ever
insurance
seen.
stuff.
We are now up to 1.8
Agriculture
million
insurance
seniors
is a
who are
fucking
now
nightmare.
registered
Ugh.
for Canada's new dental program. This is something that will save lives. This is something that will restore dignity to the lives of so many seniors. And with so many seniors that registered up until the month of May, I look forward to more seniors enjoying the dignity of quality health care regardless of injury, regardless of birthright. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Why are we all talking about seniors just like they're the large grown-up version of children? Did anyone else catch that? Like, they have this weird emphasis on seniors the same way they do with the word children. It's like they've got this fetish for old people and toddlers. I don't get it.
The Honourable Member for Saint Laurent.
In 2017, our government released our defense policy, Strong, Secure, Engaged. Since then, the world has fundamentally changed. Russia has attacked Ukraine, the Arctic is more accessible to foreign actors, and the international rules that have kept us safe for over 75 years are increasingly challenged. As a member of the Standing Committee on National Defense, I have personally advocated for a modernization of our defense policy to better meet the needs of today. Can the Minister of Defense update this House on our government's work to update our existing defense policy?
That's a good question.
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to thank the member from Saint Laurent for a question. And I'm pleased to share with this House that yesterday we released our renewed vision for defence. Our North Strong and Free is a clear plan to build Canadian Armed Forces that will defend our sovereignty and protect our interests globally.
How?
It's a responsible plan, Mr. Speaker, that will support the members of the Canadian Armed Forces and help us grow their numbers. It's a plan to acquire and maintain the equipment and capabilities that they require to fulfill their mission. It's a plan to assert our sovereignty, to defend our country and our continent. And finally, Mr. Speaker, it's a plan that makes us strong at home so that we can be strong around the world.
I don't think you believe that. Does anyone else feel like he doesn't believe that? Sounds like he just saw the Duke boys. Fuck Ukraine.
The Honourable Member from Oxford.
After 8 years of this Liberal NDP government and their carbon tax, Canadians are struggling to put food on their tables. When you tax the farmer who grows the food and you tax the trucker who ships the food, you punish all Canadians who buy the food.
Yep.
Food banks like the Cambridge Food Bank are now seeing record-breaking demand. This Prime Minister's 23% carbon tax hike is not worth the cost. So will the Prime Minister lower the cost on farmers and make food cheaper by passing Bill 234 in its original form?
I think that guy's new. He sounds very scared.
For Housing, Infrastructure and Communities.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague talks about putting food on the table. I'm proud to be part of a government that believes that hungry kids should have food on the table.
Yeah, so if you believe that, lower the fucking carbon tax so that their parents can put food on the table so that they're not relying on a fucking school program to provide them possibly expired yogurt tubes and old oranges.
I'm proud to be part of a government that's taking action to implement a school food program so those hungry kids are able to eat when they go to school. It's unbelievable to me to hear this rhetoric from the Conservative opposition.
We shouldn't have to be having our kids eat out of national school food program. We should be giving food to... Oh my God.
Put the food on the table for my constituents. They oppose at every turn. We'll do what it takes to help working class families and middle class families and kids when it comes to putting food on the table.
The Honourable Member from Oxford.
Mr. Speaker, that minister is so out of touch because here are the facts. After 8 years of this Liberal NDP government, we have a record-smashing 2 million Canadians using a food bank in a single month, with over 1 million more expected this year. Food banks like the one in Cambridge are now seeing dual-income families, full-time working Canadians, and our seniors lining up at the food banks. This Prime Minister is not worth the cost. Will this Prime Minister finally show some compassion and make food cheaper for Canadians by passing Bill 234 in its original form?
No, he won't.
The Honourable Minister for Families, Children and Social Development.
The Honourable Minister for Helen Lovejoy.
The mums and dads across this country that we've been helping, I worry for them, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the Opposition has been very clear, and his actions are all we need to know, all we need to point to. We point to their opposition of a motion and a vote to support a national school food program.
I would oppose that too. I don't want my kids eating food I have no idea what it is or where it comes from. I want to be able to buy all the food that my kids like and eat here, and so that I can give it to them and I know exactly what they're eating. I would like it so that, like I said yesterday, a family of 4 can go to the grocery store and spend $150 and fill their fridge, freezer, and pantry for an entire 7 days of the week instead of it being for 3 days. Like, fuck, man. Back when Pincalo and I were first together, like $150 for the two of us would have given us food for like 2 weeks. Like, now, $150, like half of that is like 2 or 3 days worth of meat, like 2 or 3 meals worth of meat. Then you got to get the side dishes to go with those meals. Then there's milk, which is now like $10 a bag, and there you go. There's your food you've got like 3 meals, a bag of milk, and then you got to go spend another like $30 somewhere else for cheaper snack food, because grocery stores charge double what they used to for pantry stuff. So it's like $200 and you've barely got enough food for 3 days. What the fuck?
Point to their opposition and a vote to oppose expanding funding for more childcare to help families out. Mr. Speaker, their actions are clear. They will cut, cut, cut.
The honourable member from Miramichi Grand Lake.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years, the NDP Liberal government and the Prime Minister's 23% carbon tax is not worth the cost.
Got a lot of conservatives.
Doesn't understand. If you tax the farmer who grows the food, you end up taxing the family who buys it. People are struggling in New Brunswick. 40 to 50 military families need to visit Gagetown Food Bank just to feed their kids. Now, UNB had to create their own food bank to feed their students.
Holy shit.
Will the Prime Minister lower costs on farmers and make food...
That's insane. The University of New Brunswick had to create its own campus food bank.
Cheaper by
that is
Bill
messed up.
234 in its original form.
The Honourable Minister for Housing, Infrastructure and Communities.
A single chicken breast will cost between $7 and $9 right now. Yeah. Yeah, I remember when we used to go and get whole chickens for $8. And we would come home and we would get a cooked, we would get an uncooked chicken for like $8, the whole thing. And then we'd come home and cook it ourselves. I remember when a 4-pack of chicken breasts being $11 or $12 was expensive for chicken. Like, this is insane.
Hard to take seriously the honourable member's criticism when he and his party voted against a pay raise for the men and women who serve this country in uniform. When we go to this chamber every day, we have an opportunity to stand.
Oh, I go to the dollar store for snacks too. Cannibalistic Wizard. That's where I get the pantry stuff for the kids for their lunch. I go to the dollar store because I can get like the pudding cups and bear paws and stuff like that for way cheaper than at the grocery store. So yeah, absolutely. Now the whole chicken is $17, says Pincalo. Yeah. It's literally doubled.
Stand up for policies that help middle-class families put food on the table. When we cut taxes for the middle class and raise it on the wealthiest 1%, they voted against it. When we stopped sending childcare checks to the wealthiest people in this country so we could put more in the pockets of 9 out of 10 Canadian families, they voted against it. And now they want to justify their climate denialism from taking hundreds of dollars
Oh my God. Stop with the climate denialism.
We're going to do what it takes to help people.
Yes. Here, here. The honourable member from Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
When you tax the farmer who grows the food and you tax the trucker who hauls the food, then you hurt the families who buy the food. Things have gotten so bad under this Liberal NDP carbon tax coalition that military families stationed in Borden and Gagetown are having to be using food banks. And troops training right here in Ottawa are relying on food donations from college staff.
Wow. Wow, that's Jesus Christ. College staff are giving military trainees food donations. That's crazy. I like my vanilla wafers. And what about the Prime Minister telling the armed forces to cut $1 billion last year? Good point. Very good point.
After 8 long years, this Prime Minister isn't worth the cost. Will the Prime Minister lower the cost on Canadian farmers and make food more affordable for all Canadians by passing Bill C-234 in its original form immediately?
Nope. Screw you, farmers.
For national defense. First of all, Mr. Speaker, let me respond to, because I share the concern about the welfare of every member of the Canadian Armed Forces.
Do you?
We work very hard to make
Do
sure
you,
that
Bill?
our forces
Are you
receive
sure?
all of the supports in housing and in financial supports that they require to do the important mission that they perform for all of us in this country. And Mr. Speaker, we recently negotiated, for example, a very substantial pay raise because they've earned it and they deserved it. And that's why it was such a huge disappointment when that member and all of his colleagues voted against the money for that pay
Yeah,
raise.
because in that bill you wanted to send how many billions to the Ukraine?
To protect our country.
The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, imposing visas on Mexicans was necessary, but the federal government had promised that it would not affect workers. Now, Eastern Quebec is reeling from delays in the arrival of temporary foreign workers in the fishing and processing industries. Fortunately, since the Bloc Québécois leader wrote to the Minister of Immigration and the Prime Minister on March 25th, the situation has improved, and this should be acknowledged, but there are still concerns. We simply ask the Minister to reassure us. Can he confirm today that all the workers will arrive as soon as possible and that this situation will not affect other sectors like, for example, agriculture? Thank you.
We need all the Mexicans we can get to come can our fish and pick our fruit. Hurry up! We're dying here.
The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the member for his question. It's a very relevant one. It's clear that we all want a successful fishing season in Quebec, in Canada.
I don't trust any of the
fisheries
Walmart
depend on
grocery
Mexican visas that need to be issued.
I don't trust any of the Walmart grocery places up here. They're disgusting. Yeah, you can smell the vegetables going bad. It's not pretty.
A day so that this is done quickly. We will continue working on this. We're not out of the woods, but I have hope given the hard work of the teams working on this. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Avignon, La Métis, Matane, Matapédia. There's a way to be both responsible at the border and responsible towards the entire fishing and processing economy in the Gaspé Peninsula and eastern Quebec. We simply have to work intelligently and without partisanship. The cooperation of the Minister of Immigration is to be commended, but he has the fate of an entire industry in his hands. One company has already closed because workers didn't arrive in time for the opening of the fishery.
Oh, shit.
And others are afraid of suffering the same fate when their season opens for lobster. Can the minister reassure them that workers will arrive as soon as possible?
Why are we not hiring, or have we already hired Quebecers to go catch the lobster, so we need temporary workers to come and can the lobster and process the lobster? The amount of migrant workers for the wineries in Niagara Falls is insane. Each of them have every one of them have 10 haciendas that are just little shitty shacks. Oh, wow. That's crazy.
The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship. As I said clearly to her colleague, we are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that
No, you're not.
And imposing
no government worker okay, that's not true.
Mexico.
One government worker apparently works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but she's not involved in
the
this
Bloc Québécois culture,
area.
which is important, which we need to continue to underline. Insofar as there are workers who have to have their passport stamped in Mexico, it has to continue. They need to do it with third parties who are helping those factories. At RARCC, we will work 24 hours a day so that it can be processed within 24 hours. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, after more than 8 years of this Liberal government, we all know it's not worth the cost. The price of housing continues to soar, and the government is forgetting about municipalities to increase new housing construction. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister finally build housing and eliminate bureaucracy in his next budget?
Nope.
The Honourable Minister of Innovation.
What?
We
Not
won't take any
housing?
lessons from the Conservatives. What we are presenting is a plan
We
for
will not
Canadians.
take lessons from
A
the
plan to
Conservatives.
build
Of
more
course.
housing,
Of course they're going
a
to
plan
say
to
that
create
shit.
more jobs, a plan to have more prosperity in the country. Mr. Speaker, Canadians watching at home understand that slogans don't create jobs, slogans don't build houses, and slogans don't create economic prosperity, Mr. Speaker. We'll let the Conservatives keep to their slogans and videos. We will focus on Canadians.
Their slogans and videos. You mean the videos that are gaining more and more support because the videos contain plans and people are tired of hearing all of your bullshit? None of them want to do the work. It's too hard of labor. Nobody wants to process fish.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, housing prices will continue to skyrocket, warns the CMHC. The average cost of an apartment could rise by 27% over the next 3
Holy
years
fuck.
in the Montreal region. A Conservative government will reward cities that increase housing construction. Why, Mr. Speaker, doesn't the Prime Minister listen to common sense and work with his provincial and municipal partners to build the housing needed for the well-being of all Canadians?
That's a good question. I like this translator. She's actually on point
The Honourable
with her
Minister
translating.
of Innovation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And
People
again,
laugh
not
at
the
home
Minister for
when they
Housing.
hear the Conservative members talk about cooperating with municipalities. The last time the Conservative leader spoke to the Mayor of Quebec City, the Mayor of Montreal, he insulted them. Is there anyone who thinks
Where did
that
he do
cooperating
that?
is about insulting others? In 2024, it's about cooperation. That is why we put forward a plan to build more housing,
yeah,
help
because
more
you guys
people,
don't
create more
insult
prosperity.
people all the time.
That's how we work in
No,
the interest of
no,
Canadians.
it's all about cooperation.
The Honourable Member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Mr. Speaker, I'll talk to you about another scandal. After 8 years of this Liberal government, the number of homeless people is increasing everywhere in Canada at a rapid pace. Let's take the example of Saint-Jérôme. According to a Radio Canada article, Isa, a newly homeless woman, said, "There's always my daughter who could help me, but I don't want to be a burden on her." Can this government have a little heart? My question is simple, Mr. Speaker. Will this Prime Minister finally do everything possible to build housing and stop piling on the bureaucracy in next Tuesday's budget? The Honourable Minister.
I
Housing,
am definitely
Infrastructure,
wondering when
and
next
Communities.
Tuesday's budget
Mr.
is going to
Speaker,
be broadcast.
It's essential to invest to build housing. We are making investments with Quebec to build affordable housing. After an agreement with Quebec with $1.8 billion, we are building 8,000 affordable housing units just in Quebec.
Across the entire
Yeah,
country, where the
and
Conservative
you guys
leader was the housing
threatened
minister. They constructed
Quebec
a total
with that
of 6
payment.
affordable housing units nationwide. There is no contest when it comes to supporting the most vulnerable. I question their authenticity when they actually talk about the investments, when they vote against the money behind the programs.
Yeah, because you guys always have little shit hidden in those bills that they catch.
Mr. Speaker, residents in Davenport are concerned about the fact that the Conservative Party wishes to cut their Canada carbon rebate. For most Canadians,
Literally nobody is
each
concerned
penny
about
counts.
that. Why are you lying?
The members of my riding depend on these checks. Can the Minister of the Environment and Climate Change explain to the House how these Canada carbon rebates reduce emissions and how these checks help Canadian families?
Yeah, can you explain how money helps reduce emissions, please? I'm dying to hear that.
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change. I thank my colleague for her question.
I
and also
thank
for
my
her
colleague for her
efforts
ass-kissing
in
question.
French. I'd like to highlight that starting on Monday, the Canada carbon rebate will increase on April 15th For a family in Ontario, $280 4 times a year. The PBO said 2 weeks ago.
You hear that, honey? You're gonna get a whole $280 on Monday. Isn't that exciting? You'll be able to have, like, extra gas money for the week. Yay!
That the measure that has the least impact on the economy that allows us to reduce greenhouse gas emissions is the pollution
Jesus.
price. Over 200 economists have confirmed this, and the Premier of Saskatchewan, with whom I just about never agree, has admitted that it's the best way to reduce climate change.
Member from Yorkton, Melville.
Speaker, after 8 years of this Prime Minister's record-high debt and deficits, he's not worth the cost of his overpriced socks. Inflation and interest rates continue to make
fuck
lives
was
worse.
that?
Now,
His
economists are saying
overpriced
interest rate
socks?
cuts may be further delayed because of this NDP Liberal government's out-of-control spending. Conservatives have offered a common-sense solution to fix the upcoming budget. When will this Prime Minister stop his out-of-control deficits with a dollar-for-dollar rule? Find a dollar in savings for every new dollar he spends.
But that's too much math. I don't want to do all that math. That's what Chrystia Freeland is saying.
The Honourable Minister for Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, we will take no lessons from the Conservative, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
Jesus Christ. Why does he say Mr. Speaker every other word?
From the Conservative, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what we're presenting Canadian is a plan to build more homes, Mr. Speaker. What we're presenting Canadian is a plan to create more jobs. Mr. Speaker, what we're presenting to Canadian is a plan for prosperity. On the other side of the House, Mr. Speaker, it's slogans. Canadians at home understand that slogans don't create jobs. Slogans don't build homes. Slogans don't build prosperity, Mr. Speaker. We'll let them invent a new slogan while we focus on the matters of Canadians.
The Honourable Member from Renfrew-Nipissing, Pembroke.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years, this NDP Liberal government's addiction to spending is out of control. They're getting high off an unsafe supply of drugs and borrowed money. Their spending habit is
Okay, you suck.
driving up inflation. Interest rate
You
cuts
couldn't even remember your own.
because of
You had to
out-of-control
check your
spending.
line.
Allies in BC just had their credit rating cut.
You literally just
This
went
Prime
line
Minister's
to
coalition are
yourself.
not worth the cost. This government must find a dollar in savings for every dollar spent. Will the Prime Minister cap spending with a dollar-for-dollar rule?
Wow, I get an extra $40 of my own money back. Right? Hi, Spittlebuggies. Yeah, a whole extra third of a tank. Because he needs to reach the minimum word limit. It costs $100 to go from empty to full right now. So yeah, you get 2 full gas tanks and a 3/4 of a full. If you only spend that $280 on gas, you get 2 full fill-ups and a 3/4 of a tank. So you get 3 days of gas. Wow.
To bring
Wow.
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite continues to ask questions but not really focus on what her party has continued.
Jesus Christ, what is wrong with this woman? Listen to her.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite continues to ask questions but
Did
not
somebody
really
put
focus on
Xanax
what
in her water?
her party has continuously done, which is vote against measures to support Canadians time and time again. 120 votes prior to the holidays, all-night voting against children.
Meanwhile, the Liberals stole the Build Back Better slogan and are still using it today. Yep.
Voting against supports for families and voting against our
They sure
military,
did.
Mr. Speaker. So we will take no lessons from the Conservatives in terms of supporting Canadians because our government will always be there for them.
The honourable member from Chatham-Kent, Leamington.
After 8 years of this Liberal NDP government, this Prime Minister continues to demonstrate that he's not worth the cost. This government has added more to the national debt than all previous Prime Ministers combined. Yes,
Holy
combined.
fuck.
Even leading economists have stated
That's
that interest
insane.
Rates cuts are being delayed.
More than any previous prime minister, even his dad. He managed to outstrip his dad. Holy fuck. Holy fuck.
Because of this massive government overspending, will the Prime Minister cap government spending with a dollar-for-dollar rule, which finds $1 of savings for every dollar of new spending, so that interest rates come down and people can stay in their homes?
No, because Christian doesn't want to do the kind of math that requires.
Mr. Speaker, let's look at the facts. Inflation is at 2.8%, down 2 months in a row below 3%. AAA credit rating, Mr. Speaker, and just in the last 9 months, a food program for students in school. We're going to make sure that there's homes built across this country. How did that member and his
Why
Ontario
do you
colleagues
guys
vote when it came
want
for the
to
Prime
feed
St. Thomas?
children
How did they vote when it came to support the
third-rate
fourth line?
food?
They voted against. We're here for
I thought you were, I thought you liked children and wanted them to succeed. Why are you trying to feed them fucking processed Cisco food?
That's what they expect. We're going to do that each and every day.
The honourable member from Calgary Skyview.
Mr. Speaker, we know that folks need to be connected, especially in rural, remote, and Indigenous communities in Alberta. It allows access to education, jobs, healthcare services, and innovation that otherwise would be unreachable. Unfortunately, for 10 years, the Conservatives failed to prioritize investments in connectivity. Because of their lack of action, communities in my province have been left out of those opportunities.
Dude, the Conservatives haven't been in power for 8 years.
This issue head on. Can the government tell us what progress has been made towards connecting Albertans to affordable quality?
Yeah, what progress in the 8 years since the Conservatives have been in power have you made in connectivity and affordable internet?
The Honourable Minister.
Since 2015, we have been making investments in Alberta, Mr. Speaker, so Albertans can access the tools of the 21st century. Today, just under 90% of Albertans have access to high-speed internet. In March, I was there to announce 14
Just under 90%. You've been in power for 8 years and you've now only gotten 90% of Albertans fast internet? That's pretty sad.
22,000 homes, 3,400 Indigenous homes, all in rural Alberta. This $112 million investment is in partnership with the province as part of our commitment to connect all Canadians by 2030. We will always stick up for Albertans, Mr. Speaker, and my colleague from Calgary Skyward always sticks up for Albertans and his constituents too.
Yes, yes, kiss each other's ass. Go ahead.
The honourable member from Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are experiencing the brunt of the climate crisis. With
No,
damage
we're not.
Like flooding and the fear of wildfire evacuations. All while the Liberals are rewarding the very people who are getting rich off it. Liberals gave over $18 billion to rich oil and gas companies last year. And today we found out they broke $15 billion in climate promises. They announced $15 billion just for the photo ops. Why is it that the Liberals have no problem rewarding Canada's biggest polluters?
Because you guys are fucking idiots and you threw your weights in with...
The Honourable Minister for the Environment and Climate
The
Change.
fact that the NDP are so surprised that the Liberals have done this is so sad to me. It's like, how did you not figure out that they're even more corporatist than the Conservatives? It's easier to brainwash the malnourished. That's That's true.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable colleague for her question. As she knows, I was an environmental activist for many years, and in my years, we could only dream of a federal government that would invest tens of billions of dollars in the transition to fight climate change, to create the jobs and the economy of the 21st century, Mr. Speaker. We have committed more than $100 billion since 2015 in the fight against climate change. That's not double what had been done before. That's not 4 times more that had been done before. That's not 10 times more. It's 20 times more. Wow.
Good for you. You've blown $100 billion in 8 years and nothing has changed. Well done.
It has never been done before in Canada in terms of investment to fight climate change and create the opportunities of the 21st century.
The Honourable Member from Stina,
bravo.
Bulkley Valley.
Mr.
Shut
Speaker,
up.
many Canadians were let down when the Liberals suddenly ended the Greener Homes program. And yesterday we learned that over $1 billion promised to that program went unspent. Wow. Meanwhile, across Canada, hundreds of people
And where did
built
that
their
money
careers
go, I
and their
wonder?
businesses on providing service as part of Greener Homes. They were urged to do that by this government. Now they feel like the rug's been pulled out from under them. Some of them are selling their equipment. Why has this minister left these important clean energy workers in limbo?
Here. Let's start a whole sector of clean energy shit, and then we're not gonna fund it. Oh, but then we're gonna claim to be for clean energy and fighting climate change. Like, these people are absolutely retarded.
The Honourable Minister for Energy and Natural Resources and Energy.
For the question and for the discussion that he and I had at the airport on this particular subject, and I think we're intending to meet more about it going forward. The Greener Homes program.
Wait, you had this discussion at an airport? That's a little ironic.
Early, and thus we have closed the portal. But we have also announced we will be moving forward with a new program that will be focused on folks who live on modest incomes, enabling them to make deep retrofits moving forward.
Modest income. I love how they're calling, that's what they're calling low income now. Modest income. Because they can't bring themselves to say low income. They've got to say modest. It's like the people that call homeless people what's it called? What was it called? A street sleeper or living rough or something like they can't even say homeless anymore. It's
and we are very much committed to putting that in force.
We have reached the end of question period.
all right, and that brings, oh my god. I can't believe Trudeau actually left today. Like, he actually walked out in the middle of question period. That is crazy. That is absolutely insane. He threw a tantrum and left. What a pussy. What an absolute pussy. Can't take a question about meeting with the premiers, so he leaves. So he straight up leaves. Just wow. That's impressive. And that's why I'm covering this stuff, because there aren't very many Canadian YouTubers covering it, and it needs to be covered. This stuff needs to be gone over. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I am going to be playing some MK tonight. I'm sorry I wasn't out last night. I was exhausted. But I will be back tonight with some MK, and we'll have some fun. So be sure to come by and watch and chat. Thank you for hanging out with me. I will be back tomorrow morning for another coffee stream. And be sure to have yourself a safe and fun Wednesday afternoon. I will see you tonight for some combat hour. Bye, everybody.